Yes, sir. 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 3. Talk no more so exceeding proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth.
Right?
For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed.
So shut your French ass up, right? Because we're going to look at your history, we're going to look at your actions and see that you the damn devil the Bible speaks of. Look what you did to Liberia. Look what you did to, Libya with Gaddafi, right? Look what you did to Ibrahim Traore's country before he took back power. Look what you did to all those colonies that you colonized, talking about liberty, equality, right? You have not paid back the Africans for what you took, the Israelites for what you took. You are liars. Your actions say that you're liars. What you're saying on paper don't matter. Your universities don't matter. Your politicians don't matter. That's all trash. Hey, shalom family, Most High Christ bless. My name is Officer Abner from IUIC Boston. Today's class is called The Sword of Esau and the Blood of Jacob, France's War Against Israel. Let me say that again. The Sword of Esau and the Blood of Jacob, France's War Against Israel. So obviously today we're going to be talking about France. The objective of this class is to expose through the scriptures and historical records how the empire fulfills the role of Esau and Edom, a nation that lives by the sword, oppresses the descendants of Jacob, and will face divine judgment for its crimes. So the section one is, first we're going to be dealing with the biblical and characteristics of the nation of Edom and Esau, right? Who are they in the scriptures, and what would that nation be and act, right? Because we want to then correlate. Does France fit that fit that spiritual aspect and that characteristics of Edom? Let's find out. Let's start with Genesis 25 verse 25, right? With the birth of Esau, right? You got what I want?
Yes, sir. This is the book of Genesis chapter 25 verse 25.
Let's go.
And the first came out red all over like an hairy garment, and they called his name Esau.
This is the birth of Esau. When Edomites are born or Caucasians are born, their skin is transparent. The blood shows through their skin, right? This is how Esau comes up. Also, they are very hairy people. The Caucasoids are very hairy people. Hairy chest, hairy back, hairy everything, right? So this is the birth of Esau, right? Now, let's go to Genesis 36, verse 8. When Esau, right, becomes the progenitor of the nation of Edom. This is when his name gets changed, right?
This is Genesis chapter 36 and verse 8. Thus dwelt Esau in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom.
Right, so Esau is Edom. Esau now becomes Edom, right? This is the nation, his people, right? So let's get the pictures of Petra, Mount Seir, right? Because let's see what Mount Seir looks like. Because we're going to start seeing commonalities between these Caucasian nations, right? This is Petra, which is located in Mount Seir, and what you see is the beginnings of what would become the Roman architecture, right? Esau was around before the Romans were, but they're already building this type of architecture. No other nation of people is building like this, right? This is what they built out in Mount Seir, right? All right, let's go to 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 9. Actually, let's go to Malachi 1, verse 4, then we'll go to 2nd Ezra.
This is Malachi chapter 1 and verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places.
Right.
Thus saith the Lord of hosts.
Right, they will rebuild. Let's start at verse 2, matter of fact.
Verse 2. I have loved you, saith the Lord. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Lord? Yet I love Jacob.
So the Most High loves Jacob, read.
And I hated Esau.
And he hates Esau. He hates Edom, this nation of people. Remember, all these individuals go on to be a nation of people. Esau ends up becoming a nation of people known as the Edomites. God hates the Edomites. Read.
And I hated Esau and laid his mountains and his heritage waste.
His kingdoms, right? Right? And everything that comes with having a kingdom. The cultures laid that all to waste. For who?
For the dragons of the wilderness.
Right?
Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down, and they shall call them the border of wickedness.
So spiritually, Esau is the border of wickedness. When we look at their empire and how it runs and how it functions, they are always the border of wickedness. No other nation on this planet is going to be as evil as the Edomites, right? They are the beginning and end of wickedness. Now let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 9.
Yes, sir.
Right? Still dealing with the biblical identity of Esau, right? And we're going to tail this in with France. Let's go.
2nd Ezra 6 and verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world,
right?
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
Going into the kingdom being translated over, right? This is, we're going to read a prophecy dealing with that. But Esau is the end of the world. And after that, Jacob kingdom is what's going to be flourishing and what's going to be built up, right? So here it is. The Edomites would be ruling in the last days. So the major power players on this planet would be the Edomites. And then all the other nations would be underneath them as part of the confederacy, right? So now let's deal with Esau's character. We're going to jump back to Genesis chapter 27, verse 40. See what some of the blessings that they got, which is going to portray their character.
This is the book of Genesis, chapter 27 and verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live.
So Edomites, this nation of people is going to live by the sword. When you look at all the Caucasian nations, they've all lived by the sword, right? The Greeks, let's start with the Macedonians. The Macedonians lived by the sword underneath Alexander, right? Then the Macedonian Empire split into 4 parts: Ptolemy, Lysimachus, Cassander, and Seleucus, right? They all lived by the sword, eventually turning into the Greek Empire, who lived by the sword, which eventually turned into the Roman Empire, which lived by the sword. Then you got the Spaniards, you got the Portuguese, you got the French, you got the Franks, who became the French, right? You got the Germans, you got Prussia, Russia. All these nations live by the sword, and guess what? They're all Caucasians. They're all the same people. This is their blessing. They live by the sword. Read that from the top.
And by thy sword shalt thou live, and shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck.
Right. We would no longer be ruling over them at one point, right? And they would have dominion on the earth, right? So now let's deal with lives by the sword. What does that mean? It means that to live life characterized by violence, warfare, or aggression, especially as a way of solving problems or gaining power. That's what that means, living by the sword, right? Everything Esau does is by the sword, right? So now let's jump to read verse 41.
Verse 41.
We dealt with the first characteristic of Esau, living by the sword, warfare, aggression, and violence for power, right? Read.
And Esau hated Jacob,
right,
because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him.
Right.
And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father are at hand. Then will I slay my brother Jacob.
So he also has a murderous and vengeful spirit. Esau is a murderer and a vengeful spirit. Do we see that with the Caucasian nations on this planet? Do we see that with the French? Are they a murderous and vengeful nation? Absolutely. Look what they did to Haiti. Right? They lost the war to Haiti in the Haitian Revolution. Then they turn around and they try to re-enslave Haiti. They lost that, right? And then they turn around and through vengeance, they're like, all right, we're going to make you pay us reparation for all the French Caucasian slave owners who have lost their livelihood enslaving you as a people. Over $21 billion had to be paid back modern day money to the French by Haiti, right? Murderous and vengeful people right here. That's one of their spirits. Now let's see another spirit. Let's go to Obadiah chapter 1, verse 3. right? These are all the spirits of Esau that we read about in the Bible, right? There are many Caucasian nations that are Edomites, but we are dealing with the French right now. S'il vous plaît. All that other nonsense, whatever they speak over there. All right, let's go.
Yes, sir. Obadiah verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee.
So Esau, Edom, they are prideful people, right? They are prideful. Matter of fact, let's get the scripture on pride really quick. Let's go to Sirach chapter 10, verse 12. They are a prideful people. What comes with having the spirit of pride? Right? But we're going to jump back to Obadiah, so make sure you bookmark that.
Yes, sir.
All right?
Sirach chapter 10 and verse 12.
Right?
The beginning of pride is when one departeth from God.
So Most High is letting us know that Esau, Edom, they are godless people. They are godless. They are prideful, right? And because they are a prideful nation, they are godless. Because why? They've departed from God. Everything that they do, their philosophy, their education, right? Their democracy and liberty, everything that they do, we're going to look at France, a prideful nation of Caucasians that speak French, right? And we're going to see the pride that they have on them. Are they a godly people, right? So let's continue. You finished that?
There was more.
Yeah, let's go. Yep.
The beginning of pride is when one departeth from God,
Right.
and his heart is turned away from his maker.
Right.
For pride is the beginning of sin,
Right.
and he that hath it shall pour out abomination.
And we're going to read about the abominations that Francis poured out through their pride. Right? So that's one other spirit, one character trait of Esau. Let's get Psalms 55, verse 21. Right? We're going to deal with being deceitful. Right? They are a deceitful people. You should not trust anything an Edomite says. Right? They are liars. How many treaties did they make with the Native Americans? How many did they actually keep? 0. Right? Our people need to learn this. You cannot trust Esau. Let's go.
Yes, sir. Psalms chapter 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter.
So that French, everybody says French is a Romance language. S'il vous plaît, all that other stuff, right? Smoother than butter. Read.
But war was in his heart.
But war is in their heart, right? And we're going to read about the wars and massacres that the French have done to Jacob. That's why the class is called The Sword of Esau and Jacob's Blood, right? Because we're going to learn about France. Read. Come on.
His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
Right? The words were softer than oil. Everybody loves that French language. But they have drawn swords. And we're going to see those swords drawn. So now, let's get Habakkuk 2 and 12. Dealing with another aspect. What do they tend to do?
This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 12.
Matter of fact, let's read that really quick for the class. Right, this is just dealing with Esau as a whole. This is not the French people. We're going to get to go on and stuff about that, but this is the words being smoother than butter, but wars in the heart. Put that up on the class so he can read. Right, dealing with our brothers from the Gadites. Right, what happened to them? What did they do? Come on, read that.
This is the U.S. government entered into over 370 treaties with Native American tribes, and nearly all of them were broken or violated in some way. From 1778 to 1871, they negotiated over 500 treaties, with all of them eventually being violated, according to Wikipedia.
Right, so here it is. They're liars. Right, Edomites are liars. Esau, this is one of their characteristics. They are a deceitful people. They'll make treaties with you, but knowing that they're eventually going to break them down the line. They are liars. You should not trust this people. They've done this with all the other nations as well, not just with the Israelites. No. We're going to jump to Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 12.
Sure. Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 12.
All right.
Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood.
Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood. Come on.
Establisheth a city by iniquity.
Right? They establish their cities with sin. Right? Here it is. France has done that. And we're going to see. How did the French Empire get built up? Do they fulfill this scripture? The reason why we're touching on these first is that as we go through this class, we're then going to go back to these scriptures and show you that France is the damn devil the Bible speaks of. All right, so let's go. We finished with that one?
That was it. That was in the 12. Yes.
All right. So now the second section of this class is how does France match the identity of Esau? Living by the sword. Let's get that scripture again. Genesis 27 verse 40. Right. I'm going to have things written down here. You can refer to the class. You can look these things up. They're all over the internet because everybody talks about how evil France is as a nation. Right. But they got good PR. They got their media. They suppress and censor information. But all praises, it's out there on the internet for you to find. You just got to know what to look for. Right? So read that.
Yes, sir. Genesis chapter 27 and verse 40. And by thy sword shalt thou live.
Right.
And shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck.
So France's global empire was built through military conquest. That is historical fact. They can't run away from that one, even though they like to deny it, right? They enslaved over 500,000 Africans to bring to Haiti, right? And fought to re-enslave them, right? Because Haiti was one of the most instrumental colonies that they had for building up France. The Algerian Wars, even though this is not our people, we're just showing you that Esau is lives by the sword. The Algerians, who are Ishmaelites, over 1 million Algerians were killed fighting for their independence. Right? Madagascar, 1947, an uprising because the people were oppressed in Madagascar. Over 90,000 plus civilians were massacred. This is living by the sword. Remember, living by the sword means to live life characterized by violence, warfare, or aggression, especially as ways of solving problems or gaining power. Right? In order to gain power, you need resources, right? So they have to make sure that they keep our people oppressed. French Foreign Legion still waging war in Africa today. From the Congo to Ibrahim Traoré. How many times have the French tried to assassinate this man because they need that country to keep their country going? Has all that uranium that they need for their nuclear bombs and nuclear reactors. So, now let's deal with the perpetual hatred for Jacob. Let's get Ezekiel 35 verse 5. Right?
Ezekiel chapter 35 and verse 5.
Right? So Esau would have a perpetual hatred towards their brother Jacob. We read that also in Genesis, right? So now we're going to read about it in Ezekiel. Come on.
Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and hast shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, and the time that their iniquity had an end.
So now we're going to deal with that. They have shed the blood specifically of Israelites, of their brother Jacob. France enslaved over 1.3 million Africans. Don't get it twisted. Right? They are one of the most, they were one of the most influential countries during the transatlantic slave trade. A lot of people don't like to do that. Code Noir, right? 1685 legalized torture, rape, and first conversion of slaves, right? Haitian independence punished with massive debt to reimburse French slave owners for lost revenue, 21 billion in modern day value. France systematically oppressed black populations in Guadeloupe, Martinique, and Louisiana. Remember, they are part of the slave breeding program. They helped write the laws that Thomas Jefferson then used for the slave breeding that started in Louisiana. Right? Now, let's get Micah chapter 2, verse 2, dealing with these things. Right? They shed the blood. They have a perpetual hatred towards our people, their brother Jacob. Come on.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2 and verse 2. And they covet fields,
right,
and take them by violence.
They covet fields and take them by violence. What fields did they cover? Martinique, Guadeloupe, Africa, the Congo, right? All the French colonies. Get us a map of all the French colonies in Africa. Matter of fact, of all the French colonies, a list, right? Now let's read that from the top again.
And they covered fields and take them by violence.
They covet fields and take them by violence.
And houses.
And houses, right? Come on.
And take them away. So they oppress a man in his house.
Right? Look at that. They took over most of West and Northern Africa. Right? Madagascar. Right? Look at that. Our brothers in Canada. Right? The Gadites that are up in Canada. Remember, the French went to war with the Gadites up there. Right? Guadeloupe, Martinique, Saint Dominique. These are all their colonies that the French have around the world. So read that again from the top.
And they covet fields.
These are the fields that they coveted. Read.
And take them by violence.
They took all these places by violence. There was no peace here. Right? The French went in there with violence, aggression, and warfare and took these places. Read.
And houses.
And they took the house. Our people had houses. They weren't running around butt naked in the fields. Right? They weren't uncivilized people swinging from trees. Right? They went in there and took their houses. Read.
And take them away.
Right?
So they oppress a man in his house, even a man in his heritage.
That's what the French did. This is a scripture dealing with Edomites. This is their characteristic. They oppress a man and his house. Right? And all the Caucasian nations on this planet have done that. If we look at their history individually, they've all fallen into these scriptures that biblically point out who the Edomites are. Just like you can biblically point out who the Israelites are, you can do the same thing with Esau. Right? Now, let's deal with the second portion. Deceit and false righteousness. This is another characteristic. Do they fall into this characteristic? Let's get Psalms 55, verse 21.
Psalms chapter 55 and verse 21. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart.
Right?
His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
Right? Now, let's get Obadiah chapter 1, verse 6. Now, the reason why I want to read these two scriptures is because we have to reveal the hidden things, the deceit, because they went into Africa during colonialism, right? And they've done something. So we're going to find out about that. But come on.
Obadiah verse 6. How are the things of Esau searched out?
Right?
How are his hidden things sought up? All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border.
So now we're going to reveal these hidden things. Right? So now we're going to deal with the mission civilizatrice. Right? They have claimed to civilize Africa while plundering it. Like the Spaniards and the Catholics with the doctrine of discovery. Right? Mission civilizatrice is a motto that a doctrine that they use for saying that they civilized the Africans. Like the Spaniards say they civilized the indigenous people of South America, the 10 tribes, right? Right? Now they also have Francafrique, maintains control over African leaders post-independence, right? So they have the ability to set up the leaders in their former colonies, and there's the illusion that they are no longer colonized by France. But all these countries still answer to the French. All their money still goes to the French, right? That's why they've set up what's called the CFA franc. France still controls currency and banking of 14 countries in Africa, right? This is what they do. That's the deceit. You are now free, right? But the lie is that that's what they're saying. It's smoother than butter. But on paper, right? On record, you're robbing the country still. You're robbing the people still, right? You're talking about being a country of liberty, equality, and fraternity. We're going to deal with that. We're going to deal with that. Let's go. Let's get dealing with pride and arrogance. Let's read Obadiah 1 and 3 again.
Yes, sir.
France, do they have the spirit of pride and arrogance? Let's find out.
Obadiah verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee.
The pride of thine heart, France, has deceived you. Read.
Thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock.
Because you guys used to dwell in the clefts of the rock. Right? You used to dwell in the clefts of the rock. All right? Now let's read Proverbs 16, verse 5. Come on.
The book of Proverbs, chapter 16 and verse 5. Every one that is proud in his heart is an abomination to the Lord.
France, you are an abomination to the Lord. I want you to understand that. You are an abomination to the Lord through your actions. Right, read.
Though hand join in hand, he shall not be unpunished.
Right? France, you are not going to go unpunished for what you've done. Right now, the world is yours. Right? But when Christ returns, it's done. It's over. Right? So, France claims to be the land of liberty, equality, and fraternity. Yet they refuse to apologize for slavery or pay reparations. Return stolen African artifacts, acknowledge systemic racism in modern-day France. Colonial oppression and exploitation is not liberty, but enslavement under another name. Right? Franfrique and neocolonialism, right, what you use to rule over your former colonies, right, is not equality, but manipulation and control. Racial discrimination and hypocrisy at home is not fraternity, but exclusion and hypocrisy. Let's get Get 1 Samuel chapter 2 verse 3, but we're going to read this first. Historical amnesia and denial. To preach universal values, because this is France's moral code that they want the whole world to believe. They preach universal values of justice or liberty, equality, and fraternity. Right? While hiding and denying mass atrocities is a moral contradiction. So what you're saying and what you're doing contradict each other. Right? If we look at your actions as a nation, France, you are wicked as hell. You are the devil the Bible speaks of. Right? So let's read 1 Samuel chapter 2 verse 3.
Yes, sir. 1 Samuel chapter 2 and verse 3. Talk no more so exceeding proudly. Let not arrogancy come out of your mouth.
Right?
For the Lord is a God of knowledge, and by him actions are weighed.
So shut your French ass up, right? Because we're going to look at your history. We're going to look at your actions and see that you the damn devil the Bible speaks of. Yeah. Look what you did to Liberia. Look what you did to, Libya with Gaddafi. Right? Look what you did to Ibrahim Traore's country before he took back power. Look what you did to all those colonies that you colonized, talking about liberty, equality, right? You have not paid back the Africans for what you took, the Israelites for what you took. Right. You are liars. Your actions say that you're liars. What you're saying on paper don't matter. Your universities don't matter. Your politicians don't matter. That's all trash. Right? So now let's go to this one. Building empires by blood and theft. Does France do that? Get Habakkuk 2 and 12.
Habakkuk chapter 2 and verse 12. Woe to him that buildeth a town with blood, and establisheth a city by iniquity.
France was built on blood. France was built on blood. Slave trade financed entire cities like Nantes and Bordeaux, which is one of the wine capitals. Right? For all you that like to drink wine, right? France's wine capital was built off the backs and blood of our people. Right? Enslaved labor powered Saint Dominique, France's wealthiest colony. French companies looted gold, rubber, oil, and cocoa from African lands. Right? This is how their country came about. The Congo, the Ocean Railway killed over 20,000 forced laborers. Right? This is your legacy. These are your actions as a nation of people. You are acting like Edomites because you are Edomites. Right? This is your legacy, and you're following in the footsteps of your forefather because you're the damn devil the Bible speaks of. Let's go to section 3. France, slavery, and reproduction. Let's deal with that. France, slavery, and reproduction. Code Noir, like I had mentioned earlier, started in Louisiana. What does Code Noir mean? Code Black. Right? So Code Black in Louisiana. Children born to enslaved mothers became slaves. They forced Catholicism on Africans and banned African customs. Right? That's why a lot of Levites tend to hide that African traditions that they got from the Hamites in the Catholicism, right? France laid the legal groundwork for American slave breeding farms post 1803. Right? They laid the groundwork for America to start breeding slaves on home soil so they could ban the importation of slaves because they wanted to make money here. They didn't want to keep on giving money to the Edomites that were importing slaves in, that already had the infrastructure set up to import slaves. Right? They helped build that groundwork. Let's get Lamentations 5, verse 1. My bad. Lamentations 5 and 11. Sorry.
Verse 11. They ravished the women in Zion and the maids in the cities of Judah.
That's what they've done. They've raped our women. Right? That breeding program. Look what they did. They ravaged these sisters. Right? To breed more slaves. They did not do this out of love. This is hatred. Right? This is hatred. And they refuse to apologize for what they've done, which shows you that they have no love for us. They don't acknowledge it. They want us to move on. They say that was in the past, but they still want you to celebrate Vive la France, right? They still want you to celebrate all that nonsense. But when it comes to what they've done to us as a people, they're like, no. Want to know why? Because the French, these Caucasians who started France, not the immigrants who came, right, and became French citizens. We're not talking about you. We're talking about the Caucasians who established the French country. They hate Israel. They hate our people. Systematic oppression of blacks around the world, all throughout France's historical records, right? So, let's get Exodus chapter 21, verse 16. Exodus 21, verse 16.
This is the book of Exodus.
Right? France, slavery, and reproduction. They started they helped lay the groundwork for the slave breeding programs. And they were influential in the slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade. It wasn't just the European, the Spain, Portugal, England. The French were involved in it too. The Dutch were involved in it. Amalek, these fake Jews were involved in it. All right, let's go.
Exodus 21 and 16. And he that stealeth the man and selleth him, or if he be found in his hand, he shall surely be put to death.
You shall surely be put to death. That's what the scriptures say. Right? Let's get Revelation chapter 13, 9, and 10. Dealing with that. Ye shall surely be put to death for slavery. That is one of the judgment that is coming upon France for what they've done to our people and what they continue to do to our people, because they haven't stopped. They've just hidden it. They've made it look nicer with suits, right? Instead of straw hats, whips, right, and plantation houses, now they got people who go there underneath the guise of democracy, right, wearing suits with blue ties, right? Let's go.
Yes, sir. Revelation 13 and 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity.
That's you, France. Read.
Shall go into captivity.
You're going back into captivity. The French are going into captivity. Come on.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
You kill with the sword, you must be killed with the sword. That's liberty. That's justice. Right? You got to pay for your crimes. That's part of justice and liberty and equality. What you did to us is going to be done to you. Right? So now let's get France today. Modern Edomite power. Right? These are the modern Edomite powers. All these first world countries, if you look at that list of first world countries, they're all Edomite countries. They're all Caucasian countries. Every single one of them is white people, so-called white people ruling the earth. Everybody else is not considered a first world country. It's just the European countries. Right? So with France, police violence against black men like Adama Traoré echo biblical hatred. Right? They got the Ben Levis, black ghettos under constant surveillance and poverty. Right? Because our people are poor over there just like they here in America. France keeps economic control over African nations through the CFA franc, resource deals, and military presence. Military presence means that's an occupying force. A force to what? Suppress the people, to make sure that things go their way, to make sure that those resources still get extracted and brought back to France. There's no other reason for you to have military presence there, right? Let's get Isaiah chapter 10, 1 and 2.
This is the book of Isaiah, chapter 10 and verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees.
That's you, France. You know what your unrighteous decree is? Liberty, equity, and fraternity, right? Let's go. Read that from the top.
Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed.
How do they prescribe it? Through the CFA franc, resource deals, everything that they're doing to our brothers and sisters in these French colonies, right? Read.
To turn aside the needy from judgment, and to take away the right from the poor of my people, that widows may be their prey, and that they may rob the fatherless.
Right. How many of these children in these African countries have no fathers because they're dead or they're working in slave fields, right? Resource being extracted. What have they done to the widows, right? But here it is. They want to pretend like they are a civilized people that have equity, liberty, and fraternity, right? Now, we're going to deal with the prophetic judgment against Edom. Let's get Isaiah chapter 34, verse 5 and 6.
Isaiah chapter 34 and verse.
Since France does fall in line with the spirit of Esau biblically and characteristically, because you are the same people, right? We're going to see what the judgment is for the French people, right? Let's go.
Isaiah 34 and verse 6.
Yep. Come on. We're going to
Verse
start verse 5.
For my sword shall be bathed in heaven.
In your kingdom, God's sword's going to be bathed in, right? Read.
Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea and upon the people of my curse to judgment.
Right? You will be judged. Right? Come on.
The sword of the Lord is filled with blood.
Right?
It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, and with the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord hath a sacrifice in Basra.
That's you Edomites. You're the sacrifice in Basra. Your people, that nation of people, you're the sacrifice. Come on.
In a great slaughter in the land of Idumea.
Oh, man. A great slaughter. A massacre. Like all the massacres that you've accomplished on this earth, the massacre is going to start in home with you. Right now, it hasn't happened yet. But eventually the Lord will come back and he's going to slaughter all the souls that make up your country. Right? Let's get Obadiah 1 and 18.
Obadiah verse 18. And the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame,
Right?
and the house of Esau for stubble.
You are going to be what's used to power that fire, that stubble. Right? Come on.
And they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau.
This is your judgment, France. This is what's going to happen for your actions, right? This is justice. This is equity, right? Let's get Revelations 18 and 6.
This is the book of Revelation, chapter 18 and verse 6. Reward her even as she rewarded you.
Right, just like you rewarded our people with murder and bloodshed and rape, slavery, the Most High says reward them even. Come on, read that again from the top. I don't want to ruin it. Come on.
Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. And the cup which he hath filled,
come on,
which he had filled to her double.
Right? So the Most High has judgment for you, double what you have done to us. Remember that. Just keep on adding to it. Keep on adding to what you're doing, the oppression of our people. It's going to be double for you. Let's get Sirach chapter 10, verse 8.
This is the book of Sirach, chapter 10 and verse 8. Because of unrighteous dealings, injuries and riches got by deceit.
Right? This is your whole nation, France, right? Come on.
The kingdom is translated from one people to another.
Your kingdom is going to be translated. All these Edomite kingdoms are going to be translated to who? Let's get 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 9. right? Your kingdoms are going to be translated to another people. Who's that people going to be? Come on.
2nd Ezra 6 and verse 9. For Esau is the end of the world.
Right? That kingdom, these Edomite kingdoms are the end of the world. Come on.
And Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth.
And when those kingdoms are cast down, the kingdoms of Jacob are going to be built up. Right? That's the translation. Right? That's what you got coming to you, France. So the conclusion, the rise of Jacob. France, like other Edomite powers, rose through violence and deceit, but it will fall as it is written. The Most High is awakening Jacob, and the downfall of Esau is near. So for those of you that are tuning in, right, come out of her, my people, right, hear the word of the Lord, repent, get yourself right, subscribe to IUIC Boston. With that, I say shalom, Most High Christ bless.
What is a nation? Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family. Nation is community. Nation is children with role models. Nation is unity. Nation is you.
And finally, my brethren, be strong in the Lord, His word